Well, we were going to be roofing today, but we got a couple of stuck trucks trying to get up to the barn. And now we got a lot of head scratching what to do. Well, the verdict is in, and it is call a tow truck, I guess. I figured they were going to have to. He's got himself in a little bit of a hole there. And no roof for the barn today. Everybody else packed up and left and went to join some other project. So this is going to be like the 5th time that this gets rescheduled. I'm pretty bummed. We are ready for a barn roof and a shed roof. Well, the big toys are here. Well, there's one of our chief worker bees. And one of the things we're thankful for with Thanksgiving a couple days off is firewood. I'm getting static from the worker bee. I don't think, photographic and video rights were part of the deal, I guess. So anyway. Well, I finished up my valve box the other day, the new 6-line manifold, and stuck unions on each valve, and this last one here comes out to a hose. I may redo that differently, and I'm in the process of backfilling that. Put in some just old blocks. Be a good use of the scrap cement pieces I have laying around rather than hauling them to the dump. Keep the backfill out. And then I got my expensive sprinkler box there ready to go back on top. That's actually one of those cheap tubs they sell at Home Depot for mixing cement in, but rather than spending $50, I think that was about $6. So been working for several years now. Next on the chore list this morning, and it's nice to have a day that's not rainy to do this in, is haul in some bedding from this pile, and that's probably about a once a week chore. Haul that into the barn for the boys and then out with the other. So about a load of each a week. How's that? So turning this into garden compost.
Now I'm rooting for Grandma because I need to get rid of my Masala spikes.
This far apart from each other.
One.
Whoopee! Whoopee whoopee.
All right, you get another token.
Woo!
You should get some attack cards in there.
Speed.
Go, Grandma! Let's go, Grandma!
Finally.
Flourish of trumpet.
Woo! We should have some kind of like.
Well, we're kind of sad up here in the forest behind, about a half mile from the farm. We're having to say goodbye to another good friend, good old familiar friend, and that would be the forest here that was on the far side of Watkins Creek. We used to hike down to Watkins Creek, and right there at the creek it was really dense forest, really pretty. But from the creek up this way to the south, they've cut one side of it, and the whole hillside. Give you a 180-degree view here. The good news, I suppose, is that if you hike up to the top of this hill, you now get a nice view of Mary's Peak. A little further up the hill. And then right down there's, you can kind of see the roads just the other side of Watkins Creek. But again, the good news is it does open up a heck of a view. If you want to make the hike up here to take it all in. Very nice. So Philomath and Corvallis would be down in the valley, down just beyond that, where the narrow valley ends, widens out. So here we are down at Watkins Creek. And just about 50 feet to the side of it's where that clear cut starts. Not very far away. Right on the other side of that road. Well, that's life living next to a tree farm. We get to enjoy the beauty for a while though. And like I say, it's the circle of life. That's what we keep saying at the farm. Now we're walking back from Watkins Creek toward the farmhouse, and this section here was clear cut, about 12 or 15 years ago. And so, of course, they come in and reforest, and these trees are now, good 15 to 25 feet tall. So it does come back. And now as we're about to leave that section that was clear cut a dozen or so years ago, and these smaller trees you can see are giving way to stuff that's still got its head up in the afternoon sun, and heading down this section here. Now 40 years ago when Dad and Donna moved to the farm, this next section was all Christmas trees. And they continued growing those for 4 or 5 years before they were harvested in the mid-80s. And then I think the folks that were leasing the land here to grow Christmas trees, leasing it from the tree farm, I guess they didn't like how well the Christmas trees were growing a little slow in here, so they just left a lot of them go back to, revert to forest as they pulled out, and voila, you have a reforested area that had been harvested. Most of it was cleared out for Christmas trees, but you wouldn't know it now, it's so dense. There are our shingles. Unfortunately, they're going in the wrong direction. I thought we were going to have a miracle day today. This is, December the 10th, and thought it was finally time to get our barn roof. But the reschedule came, and of course we had intermittent. We had a week full of rain, so this got real soft. And the truck, on his first attempt, he took a bad angle and promptly filled his tire tread full of mud, and then came back for a second angle, and he had a good angle that time, but by then his tire tread was full of mud, so no traction. So they got to go home and regroup. No roof today. And here, when I got up at 6 o'clock this morning to go put the boys out, there was 100% rain, 100% chance of rain scheduled until the afternoon today. And I thought, we're not getting this done at all. And then when the trucks rolled up, I looked at the weather app again, and it had gone away, and it was going to be no rain until late afternoon. So I thought, oh boy, we got a miracle going now, but stay tuned. Well, this week on the Farm Report, we're going to do something kind of unusual. We're here in the garage. It is a rainy, nasty day. In fact, you might say Lake A has emerged. If you look out here, just at the end of the cement driveway, woo-wee, Lake A on the road to Camp A. But this area of the garage has been home to Chris's car for the last, 2 or 3 weeks, I guess, ever since Thanksgiving. And here we are on, I think, the 11th of December, so a couple of weeks. And the day after Thanksgiving, he said, Dad, can we go for a test ride? I got a couple issues going on. And one I could hear right away, and that was this wheel bearing was grinding away. And I did the old standard check where you put it up on a jack and you wiggle the tire top and bottom. I've never felt anything that wiggly before. So we got that changed out. I had to order parts and had to rent tools to, well, actually it's free rental at AutoZone, but actually had to wait for the tool to come in and then rent it and then take it back and all that. So we did get the bearing in. Not an easy job to do compared to some other cars I've worked on. It was a press in. It actually, behind this nut, it's pressed in. Well, you press the old one out. That's what we needed the tool for. And then you press the new one in. But you have to take all of this off. You have to, of course, take the brakes off, the rotor. This all comes off of the strut. Everything just comes out. Have to disconnect the steering tie rod. And so our instructions on our YouTube manual said, because you're taking all that off, now you got to go get an alignment after you put the bearing in. So I don't doubt it after all the dismantling we did. That job came after another job. He said he'd gotten a engine heating light while he was in traffic one day. I thought, uh-oh. So we double checked the cooling fan, which is right in here behind the radiator. Oops, get that. Cut, let me get a better view. Okay, so there's the cooling fan down here behind the radiator. It is this jobber here. And it includes this whole housing over here and on over into this direction. Removing the cooling fan itself was very easy. It just has some simple little clips. Clips in, clips out, 2 minutes. But removing all the junk in the way, we had to pull radiator hoses top and bottom, which meant we had to drain the radiator. Pull this, and you have to pull out all of this arrangement here and this. All this is all air intake stuff. And disconnect all that to get that out, to get that, be able to access that fan unit. The fan itself had separated from the motor. It was just sitting there. And the motor, you'd think that was spinning freely, but no, the motor was frozen. I said to Chris, after a while thinking about it, I said, I'll bet if the motor is frozen, the fuse is no good. Sure enough, so we had replaced all that, and now we have a working fan. So then in the process, while we were spinning up the motor to test out the fan, Chris noticed that right over here, this is the alternator, and the belt next to it with those nice, bright, shiny, new white lettering numbers and such on there. You'll probably wonder, why is that so bright, shiny, new? Well, he noticed a tear in the belt, in the old belt, and I said, well, we better get that done. You don't want to run around with a tear in the belt. That's going to go any time. Now, ordinarily on a car, I've replaced many, many serpentine belts, but Ford had to be unique with the Fiesta, and they put in one that has no tensioner pulleys, no nothing to adjust in it. They made a stretchy belt that goes around there. And because it's a stretchy belt, it's a very tight rubber band. You can't just put it on by hand. It requires a special tool. And you can't just replace it from up here. What you need to do is come over here, pull the tire, and then drop this belt guard here, which is sitting on the garage floor, and then come at it from underneath. And get that, there's the crankshaft there, and you got to do it there. And it takes a special $40 tool to be able to stretch that belt around the new belt around the crankshaft. And believe me, you should, if you're in the job, you should do it, because we toasted one belt just trying to muscle it around by hand and screwdrivers and stuff, kind of like a tire on a, changing a old bicycle tire. Nope, that tore up the new belt, and it looked even worse than the old belt. So we knuckled under. I actually found a deal on the tool. Felt lucky for $20 on Amazon. But now it's time to give my rating to the Ford engineers that made this thing so wonderful to work on. So let's see. Here's my rating. Did you catch that? Here we go again. Slow motion. Back and forth. Thank you, Ford engineers. Fortunately, Chris is still having he will be. He enjoys driving this car, so woohoo. Well, here we are, December 21st, and this fall we've gotten kind of tired of waiting for our roofer to come. We've had 3 different dates this summer, and all failed. Twice they got stuck trying to come up the hill, and once they sort of bagged out saying, well, it looks like rain, we probably should, not do it today. So I don't know at this point, because they got stuck twice. We're a little bit worried they're kind of making noises about preferring to wait until things dry out in the spring or the summer. So we got kind of tired of waiting and went ahead and put tin roof on our shed. Terry and she helped me out. We did that on Friday, just a few days ago. And if you look close, there is a big, huge, gap there between where the shingles end, and a little bit of flashing. Over on this side, over the calf run, I tried to shove some flashing up under those shingles, but it was toward the end of the day and getting pooped out, and then we've been hit with hellacious rains ever since. Well, with the heavy rainfall we've had in the last week, Anderson Falls is running pretty fast. Ooh-wee. Don't usually see much water going down there, but now there is. It's hard to see the creek through the trees, but down this way it's kind of a swamp. And for those that might not remember, this is an old rock quarry. When Dad and Donna moved in and they started building, there really wasn't many trees back here, and it was used as by the logging company to make rocks for their gravel roads. So I think it had just about finished up its life as they were done using it. The fall of the waterfall there, when it would flow, would be probably 2 or 3 times that high. But I think they kind of came in and leveled off the top side a little bit, so it didn't leave as much of a cliff. And just to get a perspective where we're at, we're out on the back 40 or so, thereabouts, whatever. The back something or other. The back end.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas from the farm, and from our families to yours. We hope you have a wonderful Christmas. See you on the next Farm Report.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.